Hey lovely, this is Dr. Sarah's Café. Welcome to your weekly refill. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. Welcome in to Dr. Sarah's Café. This is a week where we have a longer discussion because I'm going to extend it an extra day to talk about the 21st, which is the Capricorn Full Moon, the second full moon in Capricorn, which is a blue moon, okay? And that is why the flavor of the week is electric blue moon. Electric blue moon. So we know we're having a blue moon, but it's not just any blue moon. It's an electric blue moon. And let's talk about why. Let's look at the ingredients that make up this flavor of the week, starting with the astro ingredients. So here is why I'm calling this the electric blue moon, and it has everything to do with Mars and the planet of Uranus. So on the 15th of July, Mars will be conjunct Uranus and Taurus. And Mars is the planet of action, aggression. It is the god of war, right? And so conjunct Uranus, which is the planet of electricity, of technology, of the future. We're just looking for something that could be a little rattling, a little explosive, a little fiery, maybe some disruptions or quaking energy is what I get as well, because this would be in Taurus, which rules the earth, right? So thinking about shaking things up. Something's being stirred up, stirring the pot, kicking up dust, all these things. And in the top right corner, I have the baby rattle, because when I looked at pictures of the rattle, like rattling, I saw the ring around the sphere, and it actually made me think of Uranus, right? So we can think of Uranus, especially with Mars coming into a conjunction with this planet, as being like that rattle, right? Rattles exist for no other reason but to shake, to be shaken, to shake things up and to make noise. And that's kind of the planet of Uranus, right? And then on the 20th, so 5 days later, Mars enters the sign of Gemini. So we have Mars and Jupiter in Gemini now. All the other planets like Mercury and the Sun, etc., have moved out of Gemini now. But we were talking about over the past few weeks how all this energy, especially Jupiter, which expands, makes things bigger, adds to things, being in the sign of Gemini, more communication, more writing and speaking, more mental stimulation, more ideas, more thoughts, more mental activity in general. And now that's going to increase again with Mars coming into the sign of Gemini. Okay, so Mars, again, being that aggression. Also, Mars is a very lusty planet. So thinking about things that we lust after, our desires, that fiery passion. And so we could be craving mental stimulation, craving good conversations, craving information and texts, and taking in a lot and putting out a lot of conversations and data points and all this sort of thing. But with Mars can sort of run away with itself. And especially, entering the sign with Jupiter, right? It can just be a lot, like extra. And so be careful not to skid or spin out. And if you think you're going at a normal pace, it behooves you to slow down a few notches even beneath that, right? Because Mars and Jupiter, we could just get carried away and not realize how fast we're going, how fast we're speaking. We could sort of have a mental burnout as well, like getting overwhelmed with the ideas and the communication. So really plan now to take breaks, to pause, to meditate, to drink the water, go for a walk in nature, and that sort of thing, okay? And again, we might also be very attracted to people who are of the mind, people who have an intellectual side and who have good conversation, and the kind of people where you're around them and you always learn something new, right? Okay, now let's talk about this full moon, folks. I am really excited because blue moons are rare, especially in the sign, and especially within a particular sign. So we do have a blue moon every year, at least once a year. But they only happen in a sign like Capricorn once every 12 years, right? So it's in a different sign. We'll have a blue moon in 2025, but it'll be in a different zodiac sign. So it's even more rare to have a blue moon in Capricorn. And it's not, so a blue moon, just for those who don't know, is 2 full moons in the same zodiac sign back to back. or 2 full moons in the same calendar month back to back, right? So like in the month of, if we have 2 full moons in the month of July, that could be considered a blue moon. Or if we have 2 full moons in the sign of Capricorn or 2 full moons in the sign of Virgo, etc., that could be considered a blue moon as well. And a little tidbit, when we have 2 new moons in a sign or in the same month, those are called black moons, okay? So these things are rare and to some degree, but when you factor in not just 2 full moons in the same sign, but 2 full moons in this specific sign of Capricorn, we're not going to see that for several more years, okay? Now, this is also the second moon, which is the blue moon. So it's always the second full moon that is considered the blue moon. This one is coming at the 29th degree. And blue moons are possible because the moon cycle lasts about 28 days, but there are 30 degrees in a zodiac sign, right? And so if you have a full moon at 0 degrees or at 1 degree, like we did in June, we had the full moon in Capricorn at 1 degree, then by the time the moon comes back around 28 days later, it could still be within that same sign at 29 degrees, right? So some people say, oh, it's not possible, but it is possible if the moon cycle is slightly less than 30 days and it comes at the very, very beginning of a sign or at the very, very beginning of a month, okay? So at 29 degrees, the second full moon is considered a critical degree. So astrologers call it an anaretic degree. And an anaretic degree, because it's the final degree of the sign, you think about integrating all of that knowledge, all of that wisdom, all the lessons, all the hardships, all the wins and the victories, and you're integrating them, right? It's like you're consolidating and concretizing and solidifying what all of that has meant for you as the planet has moved through that sign, okay? So the full moon at 29 degrees, this is a quote from astrologyuniversity.com. So what they say about anaretic degrees, or the 29th degree, is we are poised for change, but must attend to pertinent, sometimes crisis situations, okay, relevant to that sign, and resolve these before we move on to a new chapter. There's the anticipation of transition, of stepping into the unknown, and a sense of urgency to wrap things up, okay? And I have to say that I am already feeling this. There's something else happening in my personal astrology, my personal birth chart, that feels exactly like that, right? Like I know I have to wrap things up. Like the past is not final. It's not completely done. There's a transitional thing, but I also have this sense of urgency, like to get on with it. Like, let's get moving. We have a greater destiny to fulfill. Like that was good and fine for what it was, for when it was. But yeah, you got to step into your next level, your next version of yourself, version of your life. So in some smaller scale, because the moon moves really, really quickly, but we feel it really strongly because it's the closest celestial body to the planet, to us here on Earth, and it rules our emotions as well. But that feeling is something that I personally resonate with. So let me know in the comments if you are in a similar chapter in your life where you're like, oh, it's time. I got to close out this chapter. It's time to close out this book. There's definitely something like banging on the door. It's not even knocking on the door at this point. It's like banging down the door, trying to get in to my life right now, okay? And there's more to this full moon, if you can believe it, okay? And that's that this full moon will be sextile Neptune, which is also at 29 degrees. Can you believe it? So the moon at 29 degrees is sextiling the powerful planet of Neptune, which is at 29 degrees of Pisces. So another anaretic degree, but also the anaretic degree of the entire zodiac wheel. So every sign has 29 degrees, but Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, then the last sign of Pisces is the last sign of Pisces and the last sign of the entire zodiac. So if you can imagine all of the lessons, all of the journeys that are being integrated collectively for humanity, for human consciousness, for our collective unconscious, right? As well as personally in our lives, there's so much there's a huge threshold that we're about to cross. And I think that's why Neptune is going retrograde, right? It has brought us to this 29th degree just to give us a preview. And then it's like, listen, you have more time because I'm going to retrograde now. But just so you know, this is what's coming, right? I'm going to bring you there. And then we're going to walk it back. I'm going to retrograde, give you more time to prepare to cross that threshold from 29 degrees of Pisces to 0 degrees of Aries and start a whole new echelon, a whole new eon, era of collective energy, right? As well as personal energy. So this one is from astrologyking.com. And this is a website I use pretty often. So I want to share that resource with you, astrologyking.com. I very, very often use this website for clarity about what certain planets mean, what certain aspects and transits mean. So that website is there. And I got this information from astrologyking.com/moon sextile Neptune. Okay. Now, Astrology King, their website says that the moon and Neptune being in a sextile heightens our sensitivity and emotions. We are more in touch with others' feelings. Negative energy can be strongly felt, but you enjoy pleasant company and lovely surroundings, okay? Also, one thing I'm really excited about is that intuition and psychic abilities are stronger. Dreaming and imagination is more vivid and creative. It's a good time for meditation, for lucid dreaming, for remote viewing and other spiritual practices. And it's a good time for artistic and creative pursuits, okay? Now, there's more explanation as to why that is, but you think about this is for any moon Neptune sextile. But when you consider the fact that it's a full moon sextile Neptune, okay? It's not just a half moon or a quarter moon. It's a full moon sextile Neptune. And both planets are at the anaretic critical degree of their sign. This energy is that much more potent, that much more heightened and amplified, okay? So I'm really excited to see how this can help me, what this is going to offer, what gift this might bring in, what learning or bit of wisdom, right? Our growth edge that this could present for me and all of us collectively as well, because Neptune being one of the outer farthest planets is definitely a collective energy. So that's one thing about the outer planets is that they speak, because they are so powerful, they move so slowly, they really do speak to a more collective energy because their cycles sometimes outlast our lifetimes. And so they look intergenerationally at the change and the ebbs and flows of energies and cycles of human and earth and life, okay? So there, I told you we had a lot packed into this. And now let's get to the tarot ingredients. I'm really excited about these. I'm excited about my illustrations as well because I'm using alternative depictions for what the tarot cards mean, because I can't always find like easy access to images of the tarot depictions that I really like and that I think really speak to the energies. So I'm coming up with alternative solutions to that. Again, this is another scenario where I had pulled some cards a few weeks ago, just in preparation for this week. And when I got to this week and I was ready to fill out the discussion, it didn't resonate anymore. And so I pulled two new cards. Now that I'm closer to the energy, I'm more aligned, or it's just a lot has happened over the past several weeks. And so I wanted to try again. I said, let me pull two different cards. And we got the Ace of Cups first, and I wanted a second card. And the second card was the Two of Wands. And the Ace of Cups is something that we've had on this channel before. It is a representation of love, of joy, happiness, new emotional experiences, new emotional beginnings, right? And so we have the little coffee cup for the Ace of Cups with the heart in it, and it's warm. And you think about how a warm cup of coffee or a warm cup of even just hot chocolate or a warm cup of tea really makes you feel, it's Even in the summertime, right? Your early morning, watching the sunrise, and you have your little warm cup of beverage of your choice. That's how the Ace of Cups feels. Okay. And then the Two of Wands is about planning. So the Two of Wands comes after the Ace, which is this new inspiration, this new idea, this new impulse. And so the Two of Wands asks us to survey and to audit and review our readiness to execute on that idea, right? So putting a plan in place, drafting the outlines. If we need help, then we start to look for help. We start to look for partnerships. We start to look for funding. We start to look for opportunities. If we want to host an event, the Two of Wands is looking for a venue, right? If you want to host an event, the Two of Wands is looking for potential speakers. And so it's that planning phase. It's getting in line, getting organized around all that's required to help you carry out and execute and fulfill this new vision, this new passion, this new dream idea that you have for yourself. So it's very practical, but it still maintains some level of passion and enthusiasm. Okay. And so combining these two energies, what I get from these cards is that we're being asked to, or we have a clear opportunity to open our heart to a new direction in life. Let your heart be your compass. And I know I talk about the heart a lot on this channel, but I think we underestimate how important the heart really is, especially in a society that has sort of hyper rationalized human life and made us think that all that matters is logic and rationality, and all that matters is the hardcore facts, and you can't trust your feelings, and all these, just focusing on academic achievement as opposed to social emotional learning, and all the ways that the heart has been suppressed, the heart has been denied. When we look at the most common illnesses across societies, especially in the United States, heart-related illnesses, heart attacks, heart disease, all these things about our heart just being neglected. We're not taking care of our physical hearts. We're not taking care of our emotional or spiritual hearts in a culture that sort of has sought to strip us of that power, that emotional power. And I think has been a tool of oppression in some ways, because when people are really in tune and in touch with their heart, one, they are less likely to be oppressors. Just going to put that out there. And two, they are less likely to be complicit or to participate in their own oppression or to allow it. And so really, I think we just don't have a paradigm in our culture for the power of being heart-centered, for the power of being heart-led. A lot of us think we feel things. A lot of us think we have an open heart. And we do to varying degrees. It's not all or nothing. It's not open or shut. It's probably a spectrum of openness, kind of like dilating. Some hearts are more dilated than others. And maybe at various points in our lives, there are days, moments, chapters in our lives where our hearts are really constricted and really closed off, and other maybe moments in our day where it opens just a little bit, So yeah, I think it's very necessary to rehash and harp on this heart energy. And a lot of times, I even come from a world where there's a focus on like fighting and anger and war and all these things, and the heart sort of atrophies in the wake of all of that. I need to go back to something that I don't think I mentioned with the Mars conjunct Uranus. So I asked the question, what remains in the wake? So we know that Mars and Uranus can shake things up. It can rattle us. It can be disruptive. It can be fiery, and there could be a shakeup. And we have to ask ourselves, what remains in the wake of all of that? What remains? What am I left with when the veil drops? when the false premises crumble, when the false assumptions, when the illusions, when the lies crumble and fall and dissolve and dissipate, when I realize I'm on the complete wrong path, when I realize I'm living out a life that is not authentic to who I am, what happens then, right? What next? What remains in the wake of that? It's the truth. And that brings me to the oracle message, the divinity leaves. So let's go forward here. The divinity leaves, we got Queen Nefertiti. I'm using the African Goddess Rising deck by Abiola Abrams. And we got Nefertiti. Here it is for you. Nefertiti and Alchemy. It's card number 38. This looks like Angela Bassett to me. Just saying. And so what that means, a part of what that message is turning lemons into lemonade, turning lead into gold, really alchemizing. So it says, dare to transmute lead into gold by shifting from fear to love. So life contains stuff that we don't prefer. Okay, that might be an understatement, I know. But life contains things that we don't prefer to have, that we don't prefer to experience. And alchemy is reminding us that, okay, this is what you have. This is the raw material that you have to work with. Use your magic, use your power to cultivate it, to transmute it, to transform it into something beautiful, into something valuable, into something that you can ultimately come to cherish. And then beneath that was the card Awakening. Awakening, the goddess Yemaya. And that's going to be pertinent. That's going to come back later. But then underneath that was the word truth. So these are the bottom of the deck cards. And so I get awakening to truth. Awakening to the truth. Is it the right way on your screen? I don't know, because it's mirrored on my screen. So awakening to truth. Awakening to truth. And even in this depiction of the truth, she's looking at her reflection. And so I'm really being called to say it's the truth about you, the truth about yourself, the truth about who you really are. And have we been moving through life under a false assumption of who we're supposed to be, who we think we are, who we thought we wanted to be, right? And so Mars, Uranus, for some of us, based on where it is in your birth chart, for me, it's in the 12th house. So it could really be some like unconscious, subconscious thing coming to the surface that I hadn't seen before, right? Like that cognitive dissonance sort of shattering in the moment. And yeah, like even the fear of being on a public platform and talking about oracle cards and tarot and astrology is part of my path and my journey to awakening to the truth, not just awakening to it, but having the courage to face it. Okay, let's continue. The bulletin board has to do with the intuitive readings that I began offering. So last week I did the Beta Brew offer and I got 2 people, reach out and sign up. So I think that's really successful as I start and begin going further into and committing more to my role as a spiritual servant, spiritual teacher, healer, leader in some ways, which just means teacher. And not that I am a guru or that I know everything. I really don't know a lot. But I will be sharing what I learn as I learn it, as I learn along the way. Also being transparent and open about my journey, my spiritual journey, and all that it entails so that it can create more space for other people to further and continue their journeys or to start down the path of their spiritual journey and exploration. And so, yeah, the intuitive readings feel more aligned with my energy at the moment than corporate, workshops and speaking engagements. So I have to listen to that. I have to be obedient to that, that very clear message that I'm getting in multiple ways. And there are testimonials on the site now, so you can check out what other people have said about my service and offering readings. So yeah, there'll be a link in the description box if you're interested in one of those. The pastry and poetry, we are not going to read from the text today, but I am just reminding people out there that the membership, if you are part of the Beta Brew Crew, we will be having our summer book club. Our coffee table talk is a monthly event that we have. We had our first one in June, although we had some technical glitches. If you know, you know. And the next one will be in July 23rd at 7 p.m. And the idea, right? So again, this is all beta testing mode. So the idea is that we'll have summer book clubs in the membership going forward. But even if you don't read the book, even if you're not interested in that genre or just the theme of the book, you can still attend the event for the networking and the socializing and to meet other members in the space. Okay. Now, your affirmation, your to-go, your takeaway. And that's where this awakening card came in. And it says, I am awakening. I am awakening. And specifically awakening to the truth. And for some of us, awakening to the truth of who we really are. Awakening to the truth of our authentic purpose. Awakening to the truth of what life is really about. Awakening to the truth. ... All right, folks. I hope you have a great week. My hope and desire and wish and intention is that these sessions help you to refill your spiritual cup. And with that, have a great week. And I hope to see you in the next video.